So, welcome everybody. You can't, as I was mentioned, it's not possible to take an astral body and bring it to the physical, or bring the physical to the astral, or any of those other bodies. They're made of matter at a different time rate, and they are made of molecules and DNA that's built for those different dimensions, so they don't really mix. And yet, the Atma is drawing awareness from each of those forms. Your mind, your real computer mind, your brain is not the computer that we work with. The mind on the mental plane, or your mental body, is where you get your intelligence from. And once your body's grown up on Earth, you know, it starts to take on more of adult characteristics. It's not just the age of the body, it's the emotional and mental state that starts to filter down into the physical. And it's not normal or natural the way it is. It takes, what, 20 years to grow up a body on Earth? It's absurd. No other planets I know of waste time like that, growing a body up for 20 years, you know. Because genetics and science is so developed, they know how to do this much differently. And it's more practical. You get someone grown up in 6 months to a full adult and they're already trained. You got a lot, and they don't overpopulate their worlds. It's a lot better system. So you can take a physical body on a ship or with technology between different parallel dimensions within the physical universe. But that takes being on worlds that have that capability and technology, and you need to grow up with it. So I wanted to run that all by you so that you don't concern yourself with worrying about, how am I going to get aware of these forms I'm running? I know what I had to do to be aware of them. I don't think you would want to go through that. And if I can help it, I'll make it so it's more fun and easier for you guys to recover that than what I went through. Which is really, when it comes down to it, that's what abilities are for. And as a person wakes up or progresses, they naturally want to create with others ways to make it better or easier for others. I don't want to put people through the same thing I went through. I don't have that desire. And neither does any of the beings I know. So it's possible. So even now, you've all been changing in ways in just a few years that took me most of this entire lifetime to get to begin to guide these journeys. And I don't talk about that much, as you know. What would be the point? Me sharing with you all the experience I had to get through impossible challenges and doorways and to do what I'm doing. That's just not important to any of you, because what's important to you is your own experience. A little of my experience I share to help inspire you. The rest of it, I just tuck it away, so it doesn't get too more than you can handle. Any of you have any questions about what I just shared with you? Since we're recording, you can ask it. We can have fun with it. We can explore it before we go on the journey.
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay, good. That means you already know. When you can't think of anything, it's because you don't have to.
Tell me about your background there, Scott. That's
well, have you got about a million years or 10 years or something? Yeah. I did share a little bit with you all about what happened when I was intercepted and put on this earth. I actually came here as an ambassador to try to change things in 1950. I tried to do it then. It was an opportunity for someone to come from another world, great world system, to try to get this world to avoid nuclear war, which is the reason I came. It's the reason others that came after me came here, to try to get governments to, of free will, agree to give up their nuclear weapons and accept a much higher form of non-polluting energy and all kinds of things. And they were turned down. People that came after me were turned down. Yeah. So nobody didn't force their will on anybody, but the world could have been a different place much sooner.
Yeah.
The one thing that had to be done, one of the reasons people came here was because people were setting off thermonuclear explosions on this planet in its own atmosphere above ground. That is a form of insanity on a massive level. To even consider it. No conscious race anywhere would ever do that. If they're going to set off a bomb for whatever reason, they do it on a dead moon or someplace else to test it than in their own atmosphere because of the radioactive fallout from such things. But these dummies on Earth didn't even care about that.
No.
They just wanted the weapons. And that was being inspired by a group, as you all know, that were not human and that had a vested interest to try to get control of this planet.
Yeah.
World War II was begun and inspired by them through Hitler. The more you understand how classified it is, the better off you are, especially today, because it didn't just happen on Earth by accident. And so obviously that war came to an end and their plans were foiled. And many years later, they were removed from this planet and this solar system altogether. And I wish I could, I don't want to say shake people up. They've been shaken up enough. I mean, I wish I could just wave a magic wand and get the rest of Earth's people to understand the universe they're living in. They pray to this God and all of that stuff out there. These are massive numbers of world systems in this greater God beyond Earth, far more evolved than us on Earth. The thing of it is, people on Earth, every last one of them, sooner at some point or another, knew this in other lives before this one. Earth's particularly, dumbed down, but it is. It's a particularly dumbed down planet of people. And there's reasons for that. Part of it's genetic tampering before you were brought here, or genetic tampering with a body you're stuffed into so you can't really do certain things. It's pretty diabolical.
It is.
So that's the kind of thing that this work is here to begin to reverse. And if I could show you an image of, I try to show you all an image of just how big the organization of world systems and people and teachers are. She's quite late, but let's get her in here. Inez, you made it.
She's muted.
Yeah, you want to turn on your mic, Inez?
I'm sorry, Mr. Lemriel. Sorry. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Ines.
Anna, how are you doing? Is that Marge? Hi, Marge.
Hello.
Hi, Inez.
Forgot the time,
Hi.
huh? You
Hi,
forget the
Marge.
time?
Hi. Hi, Marge. Hi, Marge. Hi, Susan.
Hi,
Hello.
Inez.
Did you forget the time, Inez?
Yeah.
Okay. It happens. Earth's a very distracting place if you hadn't noticed.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lemriel.
I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. No
Thank you.
worries. I'm glad you're here. We were just chatting about things, which you can go back when you get the recording and review it later. We really haven't started the journey yet, but we have, because we've been recording. So
Yeah.
really talking about some things historical regarding Earth, World War II, and how it got inspired from off-world. It was not done by the people on Earth, and how it ended, and how certain beings that were here in small numbers were removed from the solar system and this planet. And I wish I could wave a magic wand and just share with all the people of Earth that, especially people that are in the UFO and extraterrestrial communities and so forth, that the reptilians are not in this solar system. Little grays abducting people stopped that 25 years ago. They need to come up to present time because they're living in the past, 20 years behind actually what's going on. So I suppose when the time is right, they'll just wake up one day from traveling out of their bodies at night, and they'll begin to realize some things because they're being worked with. They're just stubborn. I was stubborn. Me, I was not stubborn. So, picked a different picture. That's a nice image of another world.
It is.
You know, very advanced transport system. Up, you don't know what's in it. Could be, probably some kind of speeding vehicle inside a tube up there. There's a little, like an airport here, another one over here, and some green ocean. The only problem is that the artist, who's very, very good, that did this work, does not yet remember that normal planets' ocean waters glow a foot above the surface. It's calm. That's a part that he does not yet know, but that's okay. Otherwise, he'd have this shimmering, like a foot of glowing light above it. So I'm going to mute your mics from here just so that we get a better recording quality. Oh, well, you could unmute your mics if you wish to put in your 2 cents about any particular place you'd like to go on the way, because we're going to head up into the upper realities above the void. But we can also play on other planets too. Helps expand the awareness of just how big. Let's put it this way. It helps you become more comfortable with seeing and being and experiencing worlds and people from other realities, because they're just vast. Earth people and its humans on this planet are just a small, tiny little smidgen. Like behind Marshall there, you see all those stars. Most of them you can't even see that are in the Milky Way galaxy, not from Earth and its atmosphere with all the light. But each one of these, some of these that look like stars are actually other galaxies. And you can't tell that until you magnify them enough, gather enough light. So some are stars and some are actually far beyond this galaxy. So something like the Hubble telescope would see into this apparent blackness or blue blackness, whatever it is. And when they gather enough light in time-lapse photography, they can actually see the galaxies that are out there beyond our own, like Andromeda. And this is current time on Earth in the last 100 years, particularly in recent 10 years or so, where they found out that all these stars out there are binary, like this one, or trinary. Most of them are more than one sun in a system. And the beings that evolve on those worlds, including human, have a higher genetic functioning. Generally more strands of DNA. So Earth is one of a few that have a single sun. Most of them are binary or trinary sun systems. Our nearest star to Earth's sun is a binary star system. Big sun and little sun revolving around it. And then worlds revolve around that. And that was only made public, and of course I knew it, but that was only made public in the last couple of years. They have more advanced astronomical telescopes up in space now than Hubble, and they're able to detect things further away. And when they did that, they found as they kept looking deeper and deeper, the Big Bang Theory is no longer in vogue. Because the way the universe is, it shows them there wasn't a big original explosion that made all this. So that's something that happened. The announcement of the U.S. Space Force is something that happened. It was already there. But at least that, there's a U.S. Space Force, and that's all you get to know. But there is one, and it ran parallel with the public shuttle and space shuttle, Apollo missions to the moon and all that was public. Kind of public entertainment, really. More than what's really going on out there. An area on Mars called Cydonia was made possible. Came out in the UFO community as big pyramid and there's a face on Mars and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm not claiming there is, but I'm saying that what is there they classified, so you can't land there. Interesting, huh? It's as much as they tell the public. No, they didn't even bother to tell you that. Whistleblowers came up with that. That's just the nearest planet to us. I don't know how far Venus is compared to go to Venus. It takes as long as to go to Mars. 1.5 dozen or the other, I guess, is about the same. It takes a little longer to get to Saturn because, well, to get to the asteroid field even between Mars and Jupiter is twice the distance between those two planets than on other planets because there was a planet circling in the orbit of a planet where the asteroid field is now. Galactic History 101. Let me see, I was looking at university teaching schedules and they just don't have a Galactic History 101. They just don't teach it here. So, I'm going to run a few things by you because it's fun, and why not? Archendra. Anybody know what Archendra is? Archendra in the English language anyway, but it'd be Archendra in any language. That's how it is. This is the homeworld of the Andromeda Galaxy Galactic Alliance Council. Galaxy is called Cepheus, the distant wonder, by them, and this is how the Milky Way Galactic Alliance Council refers to their galaxy, our nearest galactic neighbor. That's just one galaxy away. Oh, wait a minute, that's thousands of light years. How do you get there? It's too slow. We can't make it. I guarantee you'll never get there in a rocket ship. That's for sure. So I run that by you. Nystrea. Ring any bells for any of you? This is the conscious world of the silent mentors located on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy near the end of one of the 7 spiral arms. So they actually have a planet they hang out on, but it's shielded. Its vibration is so high, Galactic Alliance technology can't even perceive it's there. If they flew ships, they just fly right through it. So this is something the Sayrays do to protect themselves from idiots. Because they don't have time to deal with idiots, I'm sorry, on any plane of existence. They also have, I want to read this to you because I'm bothered to take this down. There's a Sayrays home world name. It's not Nystrea in the Milky Way galaxy. And it's not disclosed where that is, but the Sayrays homeworld is called Tramistel. And phonetically, Tramistel. Where that is and how that works, the tyrants in the lower dimensions of time and space have not even been able to find it. Got to remember, the mentors of the silent ones, or the silent ones are the mentors of the Sayrays. So it's pretty lofty stuff. I want to run that by you because it will give you food for thought. You kick it around a little bit. Don't try to force yourself to understand it because that won't work. Got to have experience with such things, and then it works. When we close our eyes, what we're really doing is shutting off, and this is a normal, natural function of the Atma. It's not your brain that closes your eyes. Don't think that way. That's wrong. You close your eyes, and you put the body in the trance state called sleep at night, without really realizing it, of course. But that's what you do. The body goes on automatic, and you go unconscious in a sense, not really. But you don't remember. You know, the body goes to sleep, and then most people just identify with it as, I'm going to go unconscious with the body and wake up in the morning. That's how people are trained. That's how people think on Earth. And so that is what happens for them. Bad habit, incorrect thinking, wrong training. So what really happens is When you close your eyes, something happens in the pineal gland or pineal gland in the center of the human brain. A natural process you once knew quite well consciously starts the pineal gland secreting serotonin, like a hormonal kind of thing, creates serotonin, creates, what's the word? Serotonin creates, what's the one that people take to go to sleep at night? What is that called? Your mics are off. It's okay. You understand what it is. Serotonin, and maybe Lee, you would know. Melatonin.
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 And that's what puts your body in the trance state called sleep. It means your heart works, your lungs work, and everything works fine, but you're not home. So when we close our eyes for these journeys, we're actually leaving the body in the same way we do when we put the body to sleep at night. Except we go out in a conscious way because of my voice and the way it's set up to work. I suppose in a more advanced way, this work could take on the form of us getting on Zoom and all of you actually having the hue move you out of your body in full conscious awareness. And then we go together on a journey, in which case you would not be hearing my voice recorded here. We would be out talking with each other beyond Earth. But as it is, it's a good thing because it provides a link back to your physical body for now, so that you can bring this higher awareness of what you're capable of doing with guides and friends from out of town back to your body life on Earth. Make it smarter, make it more enlightened. Raise the vibration, make you able to comprehend these mysteries of outer space and other realities. Because you can. The Atma that you are can certainly comprehend that stuff. You once knew it in ways quite beyond anybody that's on Earth that's a scientist or anything like that. So it opens a doorway, an energy doorway, into the pineal gland that connects to the core of you as an Atma. This is what's really happening when you close your eyes. The brain that registers incoming information through the eyes, through the light spectrum, very limited light spectrum, just the one you can see, on Earth's atmosphere and in space. It's not even, it has nothing to do with the actual speed of light, what you're taught on Earth, because there's no limit to the speed of light at all. That's simply a misjudgment people made, understandably, when they measured light in the physical atmosphere of Earth with physical human eyes. They're very limited. So they think the speed of light is what they could detect with their physical senses. And this, of course, is not true at all. So they bound themselves to the Earth. Can't go to other planets. People can't get here from far away because they're too far away. It takes light, billions of years to get here from other galaxies. That's their thinking. It's absurd and it's wrong. So we want to step aside from that, drop that kind of thinking. There is no limit to the speed of light. The light that manifests from the you has no limits. None. It isn't even physical matter. Speed of light would be relative to molecules being affected by gravity and light waves and all that in determining a relative speed for people who observe it with physical eyes on Earth. But that's all. Beings in other worlds don't determine the speed of light that way. So they don't limit themselves in technologically or spiritually or any other way. Common sense. So if light has no limits, then everything in the universe, on every galaxy, in every dimension is connected instantly. This is why all of us as Atmas can function at the source behind all life and have the wisdom pool of all Atmas at one time available to us. To the degree we can, and it's possible, we can bring back this higher awareness, this much higher IQ, this ability to comprehend the multidimensional creation we helped build back to Earth, back to the little two-stranded DNA bodies that people have on Earth. Several things have to happen for Earth people to be completely back to normal. The two-stranded DNA that they have is very limited, and if certain genomes are turned off, genomes are the little switches on each strand of DNA that determines the color of your hair, when you die, do you get disease, how old you are, an aging process that regulates the telomeres shrinking when your cells divide is not normal. That's all been messed with so that it's limited. So that you're lucky if you live 100 years, right? And not in prime shape either. You know, that's the problem. People don't live this way in other worlds. It's important to understand this before we go out in space so that you begin to understand the beings that you're working with. They do not have these limitations that we've grown up believing in. They do not have religions where they pray to a particular being, because they already respect the energy that comes from the source behind all life. They don't put it on a pedestal and worship it. People on Earth do simply because they don't have any other choice. They're not grown up with any other choice. They're not shown or taught anything else. So a lot of the trap that people experience themselves in on Earth is because of how they were brought up. They're just not taught any other way. If you grow up running a body on Earth, how are you supposed to know how to use all these higher faculties of the Atma to travel the multiverse? Well, you got to be consciously aware of it, or your imagination, your ability to focus on a certain thing out there beyond Earth just isn't in your consciousness. Writers might have a bit more of an advantage of seeing other worlds when they write about it, like Star Wars or Star Trek, or about the future or the past, or The Lord of the Rings, which takes place in a parallel dimension on Earth. People didn't make this stuff up. Writers don't create it. They just go into a trance state, kind of like putting their body asleep while they're feverishly alive writing what they're seeing. You know, on a computer or with a pencil and pen. They get into a kind of a state where they're so passionate about what they're seeing, they're actually like penning. How do you call it? They're actually documenting what they're seeing. And they're not aware of this. So they copyright it, slap a label on it, and make films and so forth, and that's fine. But they don't realize where the information came from. None of those people I just spoke of, including myself, learned any of this in schools on this planet. So it's not in the brain where they think imagination comes from, which it doesn't. Then people don't get it from this planet, do they? It's not taught here. You don't learn how to visualize and see things in other realities on this planet. So other faculties that are required to be used to do that are just dormant. And that's separate from implantation. So the journeys like this one we're going on are long distance journeys in the sense of time and space. Where we go so far beyond trillions of light years away and billions of galaxies away and multiple dimensions of parallel time. We go way beyond all that. We go to where there is no time and space, no past, present, and future. And that is where we came from. Every one of us came from there. You ask yourself how long ago that was. Forget about trying to figure that one out. It's hundreds of billions of years in terms of Earth life. So this has been around a long time, this creation. The lower worlds of time and space came around a long time after source energy was in existence and we were floating spherical beings. Always individuals amongst the great one collective, let's put it that way. So there is a presence at the center of creation. But it's not limited, and it's not called a supreme being. And it doesn't refer to itself that way, and it doesn't demand that we worship it. Worshipping that is worshiping yourself. It's vanity. Spiritual vanity, actually. People get into it because they don't have any other choice. They want to have something they can feel good about. So they believe they're saved, or they believe Buddha, or or some other religious figure is taking care of them. That's fine. And maybe they are to some degree. But I do know this with absolute certainty. No one goes to any kind of a permanent so-called heaven, immature and out of balance. No one goes to such a place when their body stops working permanently, when they haven't learned how to be trusted using the higher faculties of co-creative being that they once knew how to use. It's just not possible. So they're brought to semi-heavens in certain places within the lower dimensions of time and space. And then they stay there a while until they get bored. I mean, sitting like a little naked cherub on a cloud playing a harp all day is going to get old after a while, right? Picking flowers, that's only going to last so long. Eventually, they get right back into being reincarnated or running a body back on Earth to try to get it right. And the subconscious fear compels them to reincarnate here. Again, with no memory. Some things we did long ago in galactic history or multidimensional history, we don't want to remember. Not because of implants, because we might have done something accidentally without meaning to that ruined world systems, blew up planets, just by stepping the wrong way with energy. And so this begins the process of our gradual loss or the ability to be consciously aware of higher faculties in the Atma. Sometimes we even turn some of them off and don't want to see them again because we hurt people or they hurt us. So this is the kind of thing, too, that this work begins to help unravel in you. The journeys we're taking, the longer journeys, are designed to help you recover your higher faculties beyond implantation, neutralization, and all that. Because that's relatively recent in your experience in the universe. Being caught and killed and stuffed in a body on Earth is very recent, as in very recent, over the last 500,000 years. That's nothing in galactic history. So there's more to this thing of waking up than getting certain blocks out of the way so you can begin to remember, become more comfortable with being able to see things. There's always a Galactic Alliance couple. I personally consider them master teachers. They would not call themselves that way. What's going on with Inez? What's going on with you, Inez? You're on two screens. You still have another one connected.
I don't know what's going on, Mr. Lemriel. My speaker's not working very well.
But the other, you're still hooked up on another device. You want to
Oh, didn't know.
close the other one
Okay.
down, okay?
Okay.
Close that other one off so that you're on the one you're on now.
Okay. I thought I got disconnected, so I tried to come in again. Sorry for this.
Yeah, get the other one off though, would you please? You're on here twice. Okay, I've taken that off, Inez. I think you're good now. All right, so let's it's kind of interrupted, but let's get going. I was about to share with people these Galactic Alliance personnel are considered to be master teachers. They're hundreds of years old, of course they are, but they're technologically very advanced. But they also have the ability to get out of their bodies and go with us on these journeys. And what they're doing is hanging by each one of you, a couple, always a couple, at least so far. And they may appear to be 36 years of age or so, very young, perfectly handsome, perfectly beautiful, male and female, wearing a Galactic Alliance uniform because it helps you to identify who they are. There are master teachers who do not wear Galactic Alliance uniforms. Pelham does. Well, sometimes. Ramu does not. Charlian does not. Satnam does not. Etendin, yeah, they have worn Galactic Alliance uniforms in the past, but they're Drens. So they don't really need to do that. The beings who keep your fears, your subconscious mind, anything negative, which is all artificially created and implanted in people, any of that, they keep it turned off. As a courtesy, as a kindness, until you can master these things and have these greater faculties turned on and also have the wisdom to know how to use them correctly so that you can allow yourself to recover what you've been afraid to remember or afraid to utilize because of past deeds we've done billions of years ago. These things come to an end when we wake up enough to know that karma and reincarnation are self-created states. They aren't some God that imposed this on people. We do all this to ourselves. And it goes back into when we first started to lose the awareness of higher faculties, like the one that allows us to go all the way to the void, to see Satnam or higher, to go back home to where we came from. In reality, we were meant to be doing that all along these hundreds of billions of years. Going back home, running bodies, coming back to the body, going back home. That's the way it was meant to be done. That isn't the way it turned out. So I could say that what is taking place now has to do with the beginning process of reversing all of that for the first time. The old experiment of good and evil is a failed creation. We all had a hand in it. Some of us don't want to face that because then we'd have to be responsible with the freedom we acquire. We'd have to co-create with others in a responsible way and know what we're doing. Very important if you want to be able to play in the heaven within yourself, right? Because if we walk in serenity of being, then we are unaffected by negative things. And the channel of the hue expansion ray through us becomes predominant in our lives. And it begins to change everything. It is a power, and I can't even say under whose guidance is under control of it. Satnam certainly regulates a certain percentage of the omnipresent power. Agam Purusha much more. The source is self-explanatory. So there are beings that are trusted to channel and maintain creation. The silent mentors maintain worlds and stars and planets and galaxies and dimensions and doorways between one place and another. Natural interdimensional portals that were created at the beginning of the creation of the multidimensional universe below the void, so that a higher form of you can be generated down through these openings like the axis of a galaxy and filtered out and to keep everything in place on a different vibrational level for each plane. This is how it was done. We all had a hand in it. So it should be fairly easy for you to begin to understand. You used to know this stuff a long time ago. And you would have known a lot of this as a Galactic Alliance member among 450 million world systems just in a little under half of our galaxy. You would have known this growing up. At least portals between parallel dimensions within the physical universe, you would understand that. Now, you'd also understand there are planes or dimensions above the physical universe, but you wouldn't have access in craft or technology to get there. So the more advanced ones would have, have master teachers they're studying with, and they would have gone out of body to go up into those planes and to go home to Source as an Atma. So we're going home to Source as an Atma. Why not? If there's anything I can do for anybody else that's of any real value, taking you into the center of the Source and plugging you into it, briefly as it is, and bringing you back here, means you're beginning to do what you were meant to do at the beginning. Only now you're starting to do it. While you're unfolding on earth, while you're living out your years running that body, the awareness of going back to source becomes ingrained. It rubs off on us. And so, the intelligence that you work with when you're working as the Atma above the void with no negative nature is so far beyond any understanding of a brain and body on earth. It can't even be contemplated. So we have to bring back to our bodies on earth a higher kind of conscious awareness and brilliance. We have to channel a little bit more of this you through us in a conscious way to the body and brain and personality you have on earth, because it didn't have a chance to learn any of this growing up on this planet. None. I don't even know of a single guru in India I've ever heard of that taught any of this. About the God that's out there in the other planes. Some of them may know about it. They probably realize early on their students are not capable of comprehending it, so they may take lifetimes getting students to reincarnate to be with them, and they'll reincarnate, and that's a trap in itself. So, most of the real master teachers that are in the universe, the multidimensional universe, are not on Earth and have never stepped foot on Earth. A few have in the past. Look where it got them. Killed, murdered, tortured, whatever. The real master teachers do not make their presence known to people like people on Earth, because they know it's a waste of time. People aren't awake enough on a planet like Earth to appreciate their presence. So they contact people one-on-one individually and work them into waking up without the rest of the world knowing it's even taking place. This is the old way. This is the way it's been done for billions of years. It's a very slow and ineffective way. I don't blame the master teachers for this, that we set up the universe as fixed and finished in the lower planes. You couldn't change anything. There is one group of beings that can actually change, if they're motivated to do it, the way the lower dimensions of time and space are run without destroying it. And those are the most evolved free beings that exist, the silent mentors themselves. Their very name says mentor. There's very few beings they mentor outside of their own ranks. The Seres are one group. There are 4 we're going to meet that will be escorting us with Satnam below and above the lower worlds of time and space. So this couple's hovering beside you, around you, standing there in the room. You're showing them, you're out of body, you're a spherical being. You're looking at this form, you're showing them it looks to be, if you're a woman, about 36 and flawlessly beautiful. More beautiful than any woman on earth. If you're a man, you're flawlessly handsome. Certainly more handsome, more vibrant, slightly bigger eyes, more light than people on earth. Different genetics in the bodies they have. Now, these forms are made of energy. They're not DNA. They're not molecules. They're not atoms. It is a primordial way we showed ourselves to each other at the beginning. I could say Satnam had the first prototype of a human type form. And it isn't even a human body, so you can see kind of where all human bodies came from, or bipedal bodies, or upright walking bodies. There are species in the universe that are not tyrants, that don't even have 2 legs and 2 arms. They're not a mantis type creature, or a pashat, lion type creature with a lion type head with 2 arms and 2 legs. This is all the Seres people, the Seres that brought such beings, such body forms into higher evolution. And they did this for many species, and they were none of them tyrants. None of them. Reptilians and greys, none of them had any problems with each other at all. There are still groups of both in the Galactic Alliance that never got involved in that great war 500,000 years ago. It's very confusing for people There are Nordics, blue eyes and blonde hair, some of which were bad. Not all of them were good. Very confusing for people on Earth when they try to meet and associate with such beings. The Galactic Alliance regulates now who can come to Earth, because all the races coming to Earth today, more than 80, are part of that alliance. From different world systems with different scientists to explore different things on different levels. They all have the technology to simply raise the molecular time rate of the electromagnetic field around their craft and not be visible or detectable to Earth science or scientists. They want to walk around in the street and come up to you in a restaurant and sit down at a table next to you. You might feel oddly uplifted that day. It doesn't mean you're going to notice them as an extraterrestrial unless they want you to see them that way. This is easy stuff, simple stuff, baby step science. So they don't have a problem fitting in and walking around on a mission on Earth and not being noticed. Getting noticed can get them killed. See? Because of fear, because of the way people are driven by it on Earth in particular. So, when you're out in space around Terrellian, this is instant. This is what's called direct projection. You can go the slow way. You can get on a ship, it can land, and it can go up into space, and you can hover out there. That's fun. If you do it a few thousand times, it's boring. Think about it. If you grow up with it, spaceship rides are not all that, unique. Still fun for those people, but they do it all the time, so no big deal. Getting out of the body and meeting with beings like Terrellian, Satnam, now that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. These beings don't have physical bodies to worry about, feed, go to the bathroom, or any of that stuff. And neither do we. None of you have ever been a physical body, even though you've been hoodwinked and tricked and bamboozled into believing at some level or another. I mean, even beyond implantation, subconscious implant programs. Many people get very attached to the forms and the lovers and the beings and the bodies they have. There's nothing wrong with any of it. It's all fun. But it's a trap if you don't know who you are when you're doing it. That's the problem with Earth people. They don't know what they are. They think they have a soul. They do. But it isn't the human body that has a soul that it possesses. They are a soul running a body. That's not taught on Earth. Some people kind of believe they are something they call soul, but they don't know where it is. Maybe it's in their back pocket. Maybe it's next door. Maybe it's hidden under a rock somewhere and they're supposed to find it later. And they think of resurrection and going home as a resurrection of the physical form. Well, that's just reincarnation. You just come back to another body, but that doesn't save anything. So when we're out in space around Terrellian, we are in a white golden light because that space is not dark or black to the Atma. And to scientists on Earth, they know it's not black either. They just can't see it with physical eyes. So they have equipment that determines infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays. These are all different levels of one power, one luminous presence that supports all the little things that float in it. Planets and suns and galaxies and stars and different dimensions and all that. It's all energy. Silent mentors maintain what you see in space. They maintain a world turning on its axis like Earth and revolving around the sun. On other world systems, those planets are larger than Earth and they revolve around binary or trinary suns. There's more trinary suns than binary. They have a different energy effect upon beings evolving on a surface atmosphere than the one sun does for Earth. And we got a moon that's broken that doesn't work. You can see it. There's Earth with its polar ice caps and the broken moon. It's a sphere, does not turn on its axis at all, and it revolves around the planet Earth. Quite unnatural. The gravity of Earth and other planets should have it moving in some way, but no, it does not move. That has an effect on the water in the bodies of people on Earth. So we have these tides, full moon. And when it's full moon, you're either very up and positive or very stressed and negative, because it affects the moods, the emotional state of water in the bodies. So we want to stay positive on a full moon, right? That's very important. That moon is one of the problems with people on Earth too. It needs to be fixed, repaired, made working again. The prototype for that, we're going to go visit first. When you see Turelian standing 18 feet tall, he's just standing there like in a human body in space. There's a white golden light around him. We're in a circle of beings around him. There's a man and a woman from the Galactic Alliance out of body, projecting a form that looks like the one you're projecting. And there are 3 spheres, you and both of them hovering above you. It could be Shantial, Tonaltial, Dantiam, Lamtiam, or many others. And since there's 6 of us, then there is more than just those 2 couples. They're all wearing a Galactic Alliance uniform because, as a projection, so that you can recognize who they are. But they're really the Atma hovering above the form they're showing you. And you see space, it's a white golden light everywhere. And it's odd because the way the Hue expansion ray, this omnipresent power, this living presence, operates, it's there behind all the things you see, like the brilliance of stars. And the stars stand out in this other energy behind it, clear as day. And yet the hue is brighter than the stars, but you can see everything clearly. Turelian's 18 feet tall because he's showing you the form he's projecting that he once had with the Sayres over 1 billion Earth years ago. They evolved to the point of becoming pure energy, which we already are. But they got rid of their physical forms, not by killing them, but by dematerializing them and storing their 12-stranded DNA pattern in one of the teardrops near the white core of their being. They know how to draw upon this omnipresent power, and it just fills this DNA pattern, and they show you it as a projection. You, oddly enough, know how to do the same thing. When there's no fear, no subconscious mind, we just know how to do it. We always have. So this is more of who and what we really are. A fully enlightened, fully awakened Atma could superimpose that young 36-year-old body right over the one you have on Earth and change it instantly. And this is done on planets that are normal. If you did that on Earth, you'd be singled out. You'd be standing out like a light bulb in a dark room full of people being driven by fear, and you would be a threat. So we don't normally let these kinds of faculties manifest in bodies on Earth because until Earth is normal, it would not be a good thing for you. You'd have to have the wisdom to know how to shield people from seeing you that way. This is important. This is telepathic. This means that this journey has begun. It's not about going places as much as it is about consciousness, being aware. The body form you show to each of us out here has sight, taste, touch, smell, sound, the whole bit, and many other senses human bodies do not have, because it is operating as a vehicle of the Atma, you, to perceive a particular molecular time rate vibration plane, like the one we're in space. You can see the Earth. Turelian waves a hand. You know, he's got his 2 thumbs up, right? And he's got his closed fists. And all he's doing is he's got a golden light around him. It's brighter than the yellow golden light that's in space, and it's coming from Satnam above him. Eta and Din are hovering above him. He's this big, beautiful atmosphere above this 18-foot tall body he's showing you. And above them is Satnam standing below a vortex, a golden white, hourglass-shaped, curling, moving clockwise vortex with a blue-green light around it. The blue-green light has to come with like the mental causal plane. It has to do with creating a vortex out of the you, a doorway between physical space outside of Earth and the void. But before we go up there, you look at the Earth with its polar ice caps and its moon slowly orbiting the Earth, not turning, pockmarked with meteor craters, and suddenly it's like a heat wave moves over your vision, like a heat wave in a desert in the distance. And what we've done is raised up in vibration a little bit, and now you see a different Earth and a different moon. There is a plane between this third higher parallel dimension where Earth and its moon are normal, and Earth does not have polar ice caps. The moon does not have polar ice caps. It has little dome cities and pyramids in it, and little oceans and clouds, and and the Earth has a big continent over the equator, centered over the equator from the left to the right hemisphere. You can see through the planet. Has another continent 2/3 its size on the other side of the planet. This is Earth as it exists in a place where the poles never flipped and Lemuria was never destroyed, and Atma or Atlantis, which was a colony of it over 100,000 years ago, in that one where we come from here on Earth, it was destroyed. Poles flipped overnight, 180 degrees. Very violent affair. So we have the continents we have now. But that isn't the way it was. You're looking at the way it was. Because this planet Earth doesn't change. It doesn't have polar flips. And so it has a pure atmosphere. There are no mental distortions. There are emotional distortions in the atmosphere stored in the water vapor and the H2O in that planet. And you can see the ocean surrounding these landmasses is glowing. Just glowing. The moon is orbiting the Earth, turning on its axis. It is normal. So this place that's been here for a very ancient time and is a research planet and moon, you might say. Very few people on it. It's a prototype. It'll be utilized at some point to change the moon that you know of out beyond Earth. Many other things. One of the things the silent mentor's done, if you look up above Eta and Din, there are two couples standing there below Satnam. They are silent mentors, alternating male and female. They have a different full pastel colored robe on. One could be pink, one could be green, one could be blue, one could be gold or purple. Long hair, different colored hair to their shoulders. You can tell by their arms and legs they're human in appearance, but the face, you can't see any detail. This is as far as they'll go in mocking up any kind of human-like form. When you look in their face, you see levels upon levels of galaxies and different vibrations. Brighter to less bright to less bright. That's how they think. Hovering above these forms they're showing you is a much larger Atma, 4 times bigger than us. Twice as many teardrops of faculties. These are silent mentors. In recent months, they've started to appear with Satnam to guide us to the void and above, because We rub shoulders with them in the U Expansion Ray Academy. The man and woman standing beside you, the Atma they are hovering above the forms they're showing you, have bodies on the Emerald Star Cruiser stationed in the ice rings that surround the planet Saturn. They don't have scout ships out here, so a little more advanced. If you look from where you are around Turellian, he'll open a vision. You can see right through space to the planet Saturn, and you can see the Emerald Star Cruiser, mile-long, cylindrical shape, blue-gray metallic hull, horizontal oval windows down the central meridian of the ship, observation portals and lounges. And you can see inside on blue carpet a whole arena, a whole area in the ship, 60 feet high, goes down pretty much as far as you can see. And there are beings in egg-shaped white chairs with blue cushions, sitting upright with their eyes closed. And they're out of their bodies. Each one of you has a couple beside you. And you can see the couple looks the same as the body that's sitting in those chairs. And now you look down on this world, this earth, in a higher parallel dimension. There is a parallel dimension between the third one and the earth you know of. And it's accessed through Land's End in Cornwall, England, the back of a farmer's field. And it goes to a place of, well, you might call it magic, nature spirits, that kind of thing. It's between here and this third one. Still Earth, but at different frequency levels. So they're in different parallel dimensions. And you find yourself wiggling your toes in emerald green glowing sand. You're suddenly down on this beach, and you know it's in the southern point of this continent, about a third of the way up above the southern pole. It's upward curved, it's half moon shaped, it's glowing. The ocean is glowing. It's a pale blue-green glow to it. And you look behind you and Turellian's standing up to his knees in this ocean. It's very calm. Still got his thumbs up. It's giving you a quirky little grin. And you look down and you see your feet wiggling in this emerald green sand. It's glowing a foot above them. You reach down, you grab a handful, and you realize it's made of round, polished, perfectly formed emerald crystals. They're charged. They do something. That goes into your palm, goes right up the top of your head, goes into the white core of your being, and as it's moved out through the layers of teardrops of higher faculties, it turns some of them on, here and there. It's a gift from the Xeontramus race, which is to live on a planet on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, in the same parallel dimension as the Earth you're familiar with. But they're not like people from Earth at all. They're standing on the beach, just in front of us. Behind them is a brown moss-covered path that's glowing. It goes straight back into this beautiful forest of jungle trees. And it goes up, you can see inland several miles, and there's a single snow-covered mountain to the right. And a big dome on a lower plateau to the left. There's 3 golden-sided quartz-capped pyramids glowing out the quartz that are charged inside that dome. This beach, this energy, this green light is to help you remember things that are practical, like all the lives you've lived in the lower dimensions of time and space. The ones that matter, the ones that give you more brilliance and wisdom. Take out the bad parts, keep the good parts, gain the wisdom, get new insight, and go home to source to deliver it. This is what we're supposed to be doing. We find ourselves in a circle of people. This man and woman still beside you, hovering around Turellian, and we're up near the top of that mountain, looking down on this inside that dome city. When you look at this waterfall that's cascading out of a cavern opening 2/3 of the way towards the summit, It's dropping thousands of feet down a sheer cliff face. It's glowing with a blue-green light. It's disappearing behind these blue, slightly green, fir-type forest trees that surround the back of the dome city. It eventually finds its way to the ocean. So this isn't a regular mountain. How does the water come out of the 2/3 of the way towards the top of a summit, out of a cave? It's not like Earth. And above it is an oval tunnel, man-made. Little dome-shaped lights receding down into a spiral. You can see a ship come out of it, right out the tunnel, and hover in front of you. It's a 30-foot in diameter Galactic Alliance Scout, glowing with a pale blue antigravitic light. And it goes down, and it hovers down and lands on a blue disc-shaped pad next to 2 other ships. Another Scout and what's called a spectrum ship of the Oceanans. It's a big cobalt blue sphere. It has elongated pyramidal shapes coming out, all points around the sphere. 3 of those serve as landing legs. And it's about to take off, and you watch the thing hum. And each of those elongated triangular spires begins to glow in a different color of pastel light, begins to pulse, and then it just darts upward and disappears. That's more advanced than Galactic Alliance Emerald Star cruisers. It's Opelum's territory. This dome city was put there by the Oceanans. It's manned by Sayrays, few Galactic Alliance personnel. Some silent mentors come by here. It's a training facility. Now you're out in space. You're looking at this Earth, and you can see this huge continent. Left to right hemisphere. Goes down to a point 1/3 of the way above the southern pole and goes up to a point 1/3 of the way below the northern pole. Covers half the planet. You can see a Himalayan-type mountain range in the center of the continent. And you can see a clearing from space. And you find yourself hovering on a cliff ledge, looking into a cavern opening. And you look down and there's a small settlement. It's warm and comfortable. It's spring. It's in perpetual spring. And there's snow-covered mountains all around us, like you'd find in the Himalayas. So Shambhala, Shangri-La, all that kind of stuff is not in the physical Himalayas. You have to go through an interdimensional tunnel to get to these places. And you end up on this world. This is where Ramu hangs his hat, Master Ramu. So he has a physical body on Earth, but not the Earth you're familiar with. It's a little higher vibratory rate. Then we're around Turelian, and you look up and see Satnam, and he's beginning to recede up inside this whirling vortex, and we're following him. You can see that there's an energy being projected from the thumbs that Turelian's holding up. And it's creating an oval, transparent, pastel golden light around. It's a little brighter than the hue in space. And then we find ourselves darting up into this vortex opening. The group of us. There's other master teachers with us here I didn't bother to describe. So you'll see them for yourselves the way you will see them. They're going to take a session to teach at the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. These journeys are what we call the law of economy, practical. We go on the journeys for our benefit, but others join us so that we take the most advantage of getting there most directly with Satnam's help. And the 2 couples, the silent mentors, you can see them hovering to each side of Satnam. And they're simply standing upright, moving right up this vortex. Time we're up in the middle of it, we look like a dime or a penny compared to the size of a dinner plate. It's quite big. When we come out the other side, you look down and can see right through this opening that bypasses the astral, causal, mental, and etheric planes. so that we don't get distracted by all the phenomena in them. And you can see us hovering around Turelian by the earth, and then it disappears. When you look around you now, you are a spherical being. You're still projecting this perfect physical form in front of you, along with everyone else. And we're moving as a group at tremendous speed upward in a spiral. In the distance, you can see what appears to be a speck of white light in this pale blue, infinite atmosphere. This is the void. And that speck of light, as we approach it, begins to widen and stretch until you see a diamond-like white sandy beach appear before you that goes as far as you can see in both directions, until it curves in on itself. Obviously, this means it's a circular landmass of some kind at the upper edge of the void. As we approach it as a group, we find ourselves suddenly wiggling our toes on this white diamond-like beach, much brighter than the emerald green one in the parallel dimension Earth, many dimensions below. The first thing you do is pick up a handful of it in this pure energy body that, is flawless. It goes in your hand, goes up to the white core of your being, and it begins to brighten the central white core of the Atma. This is about all the lives you've lived, or life, singular life, uninterrupted, that you lived and that you still live in the upper realities, where there is no time and space, there is no void, there's no karma, there's no reincarnation, there's no mind. That's all in the mental plane below the void. This is a state of pure knowing. We just know. We're part of the source that knows, and therefore we know. This is the gift of Satnam, who you can see hovering above these jungle trees. And he's pointing down to this white sand. You realize it's a gift. It's to help you remember your existence you've long forgotten, where you started out as part of the source itself, before you started playing with bodies in the lower dimensions, the phenomenal planes. The experiment of good and evil worked so well, it trapped a whole lot of what you would call source or prime creator. I don't remember how to get back here. The jungle trees are transparent. They have many varieties, fruit trees, banana trees. You can see all these different trees, but they're luminous. You can see the energy moving up the roots into the trunk. And out above them is hovering these hundreds of these birds with long V-shaped split tails, about a foot long, big blue eyes, twin sets of bird wings, one above the other, like a dragonfly, hovering in place like a hummingbird, an Atma more beautiful and bright than you. And they're singing to you. You hear the hue on multiple levels, men and women's voices in perfect harmony. They're actually maintaining this place. You see this two couples hover above these birds and point to them, silent mentors. So these particular manifestations of physical form in the form of birds are not dumb birds. They have Atmas, very bright, hovering above this form, which they've chosen to hang out in. They like it. They have vocal cords and beautiful singing voices. Rainbow-colored feathers, thousands of colors, perfectly blended. And they're simply welcoming you to Satnam's realm. True name, first sound, first personification of somebody you might see, and he's standing there, plain as day. Big Atma, bigger than the ones above these birds. He's not the physical energy form he's showing you. He's the spherical form, just like you are. His physical form has bronze skin, bald head, about 36, two gold bracelets on each of his upper arms. I never did find out what those are for. A white tunic dress from his waist to his bare ankles, strong chested build, strong muscles, no shirt on. And then he's simply talking to you. What does he say? What does Satnam say to each one of you? He says, do you remember when you left this place? And he leaves you to ponder that. Then we move on. As we follow him over the tops of these trees, you look down and find a clearing. And in the clearing is a 100-foot in diameter white stone circular floor. And there's a fountain coming up out of it in the center of it, 15 feet in diameter, scalloped edges, white stone, like a seashell. Statue of Satnam standing in it, with his 2 gold bracelets on each of his upper arms, with his hands down at his sides, palms facing forward, and there's a white golden light coming down into it because it's a device. Filling this bowl with a white golden light sheet that is pouring over the edge and dropping behind a flat stone white sitting seat that surrounds it, with 12 intricately scrolled white stone legs. In the distance, you can see a diagonal snow-covered mountain range covering blue stone. And at the base, a palatial kind of estate, crystalline buildings, domes and towers, and 2 big blue lapis lazuli pillars holding up a triangular top like a Greek temple. And inside it, up a set of foot-thick golden glowing steps, is like a throne chair. Smooth, polished edges, no cushion. It's transparent. And there's a blue golden light coming down into it, radiating out in all directions. So it's a device too. It's a channel of energy from the hue from a higher plane into this realm. And behind it, through a triangular opening, you can see an even bigger fountain, much bigger. Has the same scalloped edges. There's a Christmas tree-like shape to the light, blue-green light that's flowing up and down, surrounded by a thin aura of white golden light. It's moving up and down simultaneously, but it has the shape of like a pine tree. And there's a white golden light coming down into it, and it is a doorway. And we find ourselves hovering above this huge floating landmass in a much brighter cobalt blue light than the void has. No stars, no planets, no moons, no suns, unnecessary. We are in a realm that has no negative nature, never has. It isn't positive and negative. If anything, it's pure positive. As we evolve, our bodies on Earth become a grounding negative pole of this pure positive energy. So we have a way to bring this awareness to even something like a physical body running around on Earth. And we find ourselves looking way down upon the entire floating landmass we call the Atma plane. It's more massive than 100 galaxies, 1,000 galaxies. It's just gigantic. And there are pastures and forests and lands and rivers and mountains, sets of mountains and different colored mountains. Out in the distance, you can see whole big, vast areas of different colored oceans blended together as it revolves around this landmass. Golden ocean, a blue one, a green one, a lavender, a violet one, orange one. And they have different beaches, black sand, emerald sand, red ruby sand, all these different sands. And animals of different things you don't even see on Earth, walking around in fields with Atmas and human beings walking around amongst them. Well, not real human bodies, they're energy. And Atmas hovering above all of them, and they're taking turns swapping. So if you happen to have a human form and an Atma hovering above it, and there's a deer in one that has an Atma hovering above it, because they all have vocal cords, then the two can swap and to see what it's like to be the consciousness of this other being. You know this in an instant, just looking down on it. This is how we learn respect for all life. It's required to become a co-creator with the source, where we're headed. Then you see a big tower way in the center of this huge floating landmass. It comes up like blue glass to a point. And there's a white golden light coming around it. And we're moving over into the center of this landmass around Trillian and moving right up into it. There's an opening right above in the top area of this cobalt blue sky. The sound is of a high note of a flute pulling us upward. And we come out the other end of this thing and we find that we look down, we can see through this one doorway, the whole Atma plane. We can see below it. You can see the bottom structure of what's the energy that surrounds below the Atma plane, which is this pale blue light of the void. Then you look up and we find ourselves in another reality. That doorway disappears. Now we're seeing an even brighter cobalt blue light surrounding a huge floating circular landmass. This is in a parallel dimension specially created between the top of the fifth plane, Satnam's realm, and the sixth Purusha realm. It is a training facility. In the distance, you can see how massive it is. There are 6 snow-covered mountain peaks near the center, surrounding a blue glass-like tower, transparent, that has a flattened oval center 2/3 the way up it, with a fountain in it, not Satnam's statue, up to a minaret point. And there's a white golden light coming down into it. There's a white diamond-like beach, much brighter than the one around Satnam's realm. No planets, no moons, no suns, no stars. Just the humming of the sound and the light. We all manifest light here. All the things that you see, the mountains, the shore. You can see a blue-green wave, luminous, crashing gently on the beach, circling the entire circumference of this landmass, and it never stops. And out in the distance, you can see 12 domes covering 3 golden-sided pyramids with quartz caps. They're circling the outer side, outside of this Hue Expansion Ray Academy. Offshore a bit, out in the blue light, because it's not really water. And there's a silent mentor couple standing above each dome, just giving you a high five. When you look down on this huge floating landmass, you can see that at the base of these 6 mountains are horseshoe-shaped tunnels, clear, glowing kind of with a golden light, like they're lit up. There's a white stone roadway, straight as an arrow, coming out of each one at the base of the mountains, like the spokes, the many spokes of a bicycle tire, and they go straight to the ocean, all the way around the entire circumference of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. You look down the western roadway, north, south, east, and west, and the first turn into a clearing on the right is a big, massive pyramid. Golden, 4-sided quartz cap, and you can see a being, a master teacher named Lightsey, hovering above the top of it, just giving you a high five. Inside it is the tree of life, massive tree. We go into the trunk sometimes, and we go all the way up and come out in Agam Purusha's realm out of another much more massive tree of life. They're connected. To the left is a cylindrical, kind of like a grain silo dome down the western roadway. And in it is a blue disc-shaped, foot-thick stage with 3 concentric circles of white stone, master teachers sitting or standing around. There's a giant golden sword with a big jeweled handle hovering above this stage, and each one of you find yourself standing below it, holding up your right index finger, and then the weight of this sword, twin-sided or luminous blue sword, comes down and touches the top of your finger. And at first, you would think this sword is so heavy it's going to crush you. But with your ability to know who you are, you simply hold it up. And then it floats a foot above your finger. And you stand there, and these masters watch you to see if you're dedicated to becoming a co-creator. You have to have this sword of truth, this blue sword of, we call the sword of prime creator. Double-edged sword, staying balanced on the edge of a knife, blended in your being. So you see this sword come down and blend itself in this form that looks human. Still the Atma. It's really being blended in the central core of your being. Then we find ourselves going up another blue glass-like tower out in the middle of, that's actually we're going to go up the one in the center off of white islands in between the 6 snow-covered mountain peaks. About 100 foot, well, I don't know what the distance is exactly, but the transparent blue glass-like of this tower rises up to an administrative area, an oval section up to a minaret point. It's glowing. Down at the base, inside the base of this tower, you can see a 4-foot high, looks like lapis lazuli, a blue stone laced with gold, with curved edges, and above it is floating a spherical, like a spherical crystal, blue crystal with a blue star in it. You can see a white shaft of golden light coming down into this tower. It goes into this star, and then you find yourself inside the hollowed-out interior of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And inside are 12 white leather-like chairs facing the wall. And this shaft of white golden light is in the middle of this, and behind these chairs are these 12 trees. And above them are standing 12 silent mentors, alternating male to female. Big, big Atmas hovering above them. Turelian's hovering in this beam, and we're hovering in a circle around him. And I move up and join Turelian in that beam. And now you're seeing an energy come down through right into the core of these silent mentors from Source itself and higher. And it's simply flowing freely through each one of us, up through Turelian, up this tower, this shaft. Up above the surface, it becomes this Hue Administration Academy tower. And it's flowing in both directions through us, so that we're beginning to experience what it's like to be what it would be like to be like part silent mentor and part master teacher. You know, respect for all life and the love and consideration of a master teacher, but with absolute unlimited freedom of a silent mentor. And then you realize this is about becoming a prototype, something that didn't exist before, that you're evolving into for a reason. The next thing we know, we're moving with Turelian in a circle, still encapsulated by this transparent golden light he's projecting, straight up, right up the top of this tower, out the top of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, until we kind of find ourselves coming out another opening into the realm of Agam Parusha. This is many dimensions above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It's beyond the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. We're going all the way up these levels of vibration. There are no doorways or planes or barriers between, say, the astral and physical like there are up here. These planes just merge one into the other. There's no walls, no blocks. But the vibration changes at each level. The sound becomes more refined. And we find ourselves hovering in a group of beings in a fiery realm. Orange and blue and red and green and violet, like flames, swirling out of the ground, disappearing into the distance. And a massive being approaches us, just a massive spherical being. It's hard to describe what he is. It's kind of beyond a silent mentor and Satnam, and it's just big, and it's got all these levels to it. This is Agam Purush. This being regulates the raw power of eternity that comes from the ocean of sound and light above his realm and generates it down into the lower planes. So you might say wherever you're walking, when you breathe air, prana, or akash energy, which is even higher and not known on earth, he's there. His presence is there. So this power supports the whole creation. The silent mentors maintain it. So we simply greet him. Now you're going to watch me move from Terrellian's side as a spherical being, no body form. And I'm going to merge right inside this being, Agam Purusha, until you can see my little sphere of teardrops hovering between two in him. And then I move right into the white core of his being. We're buddies, we're friends. When I first met him, I befriended him. I was willing to merge with him and be trusted by him and trust him. And then I come out and I'm standing by Terrellian. And in the distance, in this fiery realm, you see this massive silver-like tree. Roots just disappearing in the ground below you. The top beyond human sight. The sound very intriguing. Beautiful melody humming, drawing you upward. And you see that we're moving through the branches of this tree, and every single needle is a place represented. In the lower planes, from Agam Purusha's down to the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, to Satnam's realm, to all the planes, even down to Earth, and all the planets and all the stars. It is called the Tree of Life. It has a purpose. And we are being instructed to go ahead forward and come right and move right through those branches and go right into the trunk of that tree, which is a white golden light moving up and down. It's very powerful. And we're shot upward. When we come out the other end of this one, we are looking at a far more bright cobalt blue light surrounding what looks like a silver golden galaxy floating in the middle of it. There's a humming sound. There's a sound you can't describe in human terms. The music of the spheres, the music coming from here, makes your heart glow. We came from this source. We're still there. And you find ourselves moving between individual beings you thought were stars. They are beings that make up what circles around a hollowed void in the center. There's a white island, luminous and bright, and above it, a huge spherical being. Presence, really. Millions of these teardrop shapes and these colors. Because this is the place where all beings and all of creation, all Atmas, are linked. And so it creates a presence you can speak with. But it's not an individual like us. You want to call it the Supreme Being, you can, but it doesn't call itself that. And then we find ourselves moving right up to the island, the whole group of us, moving, passing between individual glowing parts of this source or prime creator. Lots of space. And we move right through the whole layers of it until we're right in the middle of the white core. And the white core in us is identical to the white core in it. And then you hear this deep voice, baritone voice with an angelic feminine quality to it. Can't explain it. Welcome you home. Now what you do is simply, you're in the middle of it, one with it. You're simply downloading into it your billions of lives and all your experiences. Because something in you as an individual has something unique to give back to this source to help change things in the lower worlds of time and space. That's why we are here. The source knows this. We find ourselves now moving across above the western roadway of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. We go out over above the ocean of this blue light out there, and we go far out into this cobalt blue light, and you look back until you see the whole Hue Expansion Ray Academy dwindle to a point and disappear. We're way out in this field of energy that surrounds it. And you see like a drain, a whirling pool, very beautiful blue-green light open up and go downwards. And Turelian is moving us down through this opening. Source itself has created this opening. And we're moving down it until we find ourselves hovering in space around Turelian by the Earth. And this is the Earth with no polar ice caps. And we find ourselves moving down into the atmosphere of that planet, not to the green emerald beach near the southern pole. We're going into the mountainous area in the center of it until we come into huge mountains, bigger than Everest. And there's a circle of them around a perfectly calm spring day with flowers and birds. And there's a monastery up on a cliff, and there's a big flat cliff ledge, and we come and we find ourselves walking on it. We're met by Ramu with his staff, who nods. Behind him is a bunch of monks with bald heads. And there's an opening into a cavern. We find ourselves going inside that. This is Agam Des. And inside is a whole group of monks chanting, but not like you'd hear on Earth. They're sending out the hue. And so you have a physical form that looks young and perfect in the Atma hovering above it, and they're adjusting your vibration. These are master teachers. Ramu is holding up his staff. It's glowing with golden light. You can see a white golden shaft of light come right down into the Ankh on top of it and fill the entire chamber. And it's moving through this physical form you have. It's moving into the white core of your being, adjusting things. And you find yourself in space around Turelian, looking at the Earth you're familiar with polar ice caps, a barren moon that does not revolve. And you find yourself near the ceiling of where you live, looking down on your body, and this man and woman from the Galactic Alliance are still there. So you can bring back the awareness of the brilliance of the knowing of this journey to your physical body on Earth. So you see a shaft of white golden light come down through the ceiling of your house. It passes through these beings. It passes through you. It passes through and out into the field of energy that surrounds your body, which is a big spherical energy that surrounds it. Then it goes out into 3 pyramids at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans. 2 at the bottom, 1 in the Atlantic, 1 in the Pacific, 1 in the Himalayan mountains on Earth, in a hollowed out interior of a mountain. A pyramid. There's a statue of Satnam in each of them. It's a device, a connective device. And the energy we're bringing back with us is not only going through us for our benefit, it's going into those pyramids, into the statue of Satnam, and then it's being beamed out through all 4 sides of the walls. These are not physical matter pyramids. And then it connects to a big, massive pyramid that appears like a solid pyramid in between 2 stable asteroids that it's positioned between. In the asteroid field that circles in the orbit of a planet between Mars and Jupiter. It connects into another fountain in there. And then you see it go to a series of these pyramids stationed between individual stars. And then it goes into the white galactic core, the axis of the galaxy, and goes upward, all the way back to source where we just were. It moves through us for our benefit always, never stops moving. We are made of the same thing, so we don't possess it. It'd be like possessing yourself. And we allow it to flow freely through us so that we are becoming co-creators with Source. When you're ready, open your eyes. That's more important to go to source than anywhere else you can travel. The reason for that is simple. When you're aware of what you are in source, because you're still there, you come down to time and space and you look at your bodies, you're bringing as much as you can down to the form you have on earth. It rubs off on you. A little here, a little there. One thing's for certain, you all become a lot smarter than you were. You're able to comprehend things you couldn't comprehend a few years ago. This is you bringing you back to you. This is part of how it's done. At least as it's being done now. It may expand into something greater at some point. Certainly when the earth is ready to be transformed, everyone on earth is going to have to come up to a point of courage where they can at least confront beings from other worlds landing here. The alternative is self-annihilation. There is no other area. We get help from the greater God outside of earth, or we say goodbye. Again. Now turn on your mics and let's have a little chat. I'll bring the recording to a close.